Okay, Penn State decided to fire their longtime head coach, James Franklin, after 11 seasons. And I wanted to post a video about this, but I wanted a few days to go by to collect my thoughts and what I thought about this firing, because when it first happened, it didn't shock me. Feel like for a long time we heard the rumors about James Franklin could be on the way out if he doesn't get it directed and fixed and all those things. Because a couple years ago they started out slow. Everybody was saying this was going to be the year. Then they finished strong. We all know how they ended up last year, very close to the national championship. But it did not go. It's been a weird 3 weeks for Penn State and their fans. And if you're a Penn State fan, I want to hear from you in the comments section below. Let me know. So here's my perspective from the outside looking in. And I've got a different aspect or outlook because I'm a Vanderbilt fan. So James Franklin really got his start at Vanderbilt, turned that program around for the short amount of time. And really at that time did things that no one thought was possible, winning 8-9 games at a season in Vanderbilt. And it didn't come without some sort of like drama. There was sketchiness about James Franklin. You can research and all those things. And, snake oil salesman, a lot of people will pitch that out. But he turned the program around. He sold it. He was relentless in the pursuit of turning a program around and building interest in that program. And he did an incredible job, and it got him the Penn State job. This is what's crazy about college football today. In this, you've got to win right now. And it's not just win, but you got to win the national championship. And I feel like people forget about exactly how hard that is. And sometimes people forget about how much worse it can actually be, or they forget about the hard times. So when I first heard that James Franklin was fired, I kind of wasn't shocked, of course, with how these last 3 weeks went. And you kind of heard his name on the hot seat the past couple of years, things like that. But then you start to really wanted to let a couple days go by, and you start to really think, was this the right move by Penn State? James Franklin in 11 years is 104-45. 104-45. You also have to keep in perspective where the program was before he got there. Complete disarray. No one wanted anything to do with Penn State. We all know what kind of surrounded that program. And then he gets there and he provides stability and he wins for the next 11 years. 104-45 in the Big Ten Conference, 64-36. Okay, 11 seasons. He had one losing season in 2020 where he went 4-5. It was also a COVID year, all those things. He had 5 10-win seasons and 4 11-win seasons. And of course, the big thing out there is he can never win the big one. Let me do something real quick. Record versus, I'm sure it's not going to be good. Record versus Ohio State. He's 1-10. That is what is probably driving everything. Like I say, I didn't watch all the Penn State games, but of course I followed it, and I knew he had a bad record. But he's 1-10 against Ohio State. His lone win was in 2016, 24-21 victory over number 2 Ohio State. That's been a long time. Is it the right move to fire him just because he can't beat Ohio State? Now let's talk about 2025 season. This was a team that I believe they went to overtime with Oregon, and they were right there to win that game. If they beat Oregon, they're probably undefeated. Now, when you lose that heartbreaking loss to Oregon, there's still that's only one loss. You're fine. And the way they responded versus UCLA was horrendous. And then you follow that up with the backbreaker than what it was with Northwestern. I am not saying that the last 3 weeks have not been terrible for Penn State. They are. But what are your expectations? And James Franklin got you to here, which is extremely high, and could have found yourselves in a national championship game last year. You're willing to risk all of that. Also, we can talk about the buyout, but you're really you're fine to risk all of that to try to take that next step. And the only step next is to win national championships, or I guess to beat Ohio State at least 3 out of the last 10 years. You're willing to risk all of that to take the barely next step because you feel like James Franklin definitely cannot do it. Because you could find yourself in where James Franklin had 5 11-win seasons and you don't have another 11-win season for the next 10 years. And all of a sudden you find yourself in a coaching carousel. I think it's a major risk. I think he's going to be coveted. He's proven that he can go out and win games. There's going to be programs that will look for James Franklin for sure. Now the big thing is, okay, where do you go from here? Of course, the 2 names, Cignetti at the University of Indiana. I don't know if he wants to leave them at all. For all reports are saying that he wants to stay and build Indiana into the powerhouse. And then, of course, you got Matt Rule from Nebraska, alma mater at Penn State. They talked about him. He didn't shut it down. He did very PR talking about the whole situation, how much he loves Penn State, but of course how much he loves his job, and his number one goal is to. So maybe you can get Matt Rule. We'll have to see. Me personally, after a couple days has blown by, I just do not think it was the right move for Penn State. I think it was a quick trigger. Now, I know from the experience of seeing him at Vanderbilt and hearing from a lot of people that he's not the easiest person to work with, and there's a lot of stuff that can go behind the scenes, so we don't know all the facts that it goes into what happened at Penn State. But all I know is it is a major risk, and I want to hear from Penn State fans. Maybe trust me, I saw after the loss to Northwestern, the loss to Northwestern could not happen. It simply could not. But was it bad enough to fire him? I heard all the fans just booing and chanting to fire, so I'm sure Penn State fans will be on this video saying absolutely without a shadow of doubt that they should have fired James Franklin. The only thing I'd say is buyer beware, and it can always be much worse. And how soon we forget that where Penn State was last year. In the new college football world, you can go from great, elite 1 year, and then half your roster turn over because of the transfer portal, and you might take a step back this year. But then guess what? At the end of this year, you can change half your roster again and be right back to elite the next year. It's just like the way we are in college football today. I don't know. That's what I was thinking. When to come on here and post that video, you guys can let me know. It's going to be very interesting to see exactly where Penn State goes from here. Was this the right answer? We'll only know a few years from now. And do they swing and miss on Cignetti, if that's how you even say his name, or Matt Rule? If you don't get one of those two, who is it? Who is it? Let me know. Until next time, stay humble, stay kind. Peace.